To learn about color, we're going to do some color mixing on this sheet of paper. And it's in three sections of three properties of color. Hue, which is the actual name of a color. Value, how light or dark a color is. And intensity, whether it's a more or less intense, a brighter or a more neutral color. So for the top section, we're going to look just at hue here first. You're going to use the three primary colors, red, yellow, and blue colored pencils. So when you search for those, you need it to actually say red, yellow, and blue. The yellow looks a lot like a golden yellow. There's a lot of different blues. The red kind of looks like a red-orange, but when you find these colors, I need you to actually find red, yellow, and blue. And then there's one more color that we're going to use a little bit of, and that is a color called magenta. The magenta colored pencil is kind of a pinkish purplish, and you will not be able to use an orange, green, and violet. When we make a green, we're going to be using primary colors. You're not going to use secondary colors. We're going to be doing color mixing. So for the red, yellow, and blue, you can see there's R, Y, and B. That's going to let you know what dots go where. There's a main triangle pointing to the three primary colors. So in each of these three dots, you can start by coloring in red, yellow, and blue. They're going to be 100% colored in dots, full coverage dots. Red, yellow, and blue. Again, R for red, Y for yellow, B for blue. 100% coverage. Try to cover up as much of the white of the paper as you can. We're going to fill up this dot with solid color. Now for making your first secondary color and the intermediate colors between them, we're going to start over here in this section, and we're going to be mixing a red and a yellow together. Where the dotted line is coming to meet these three dots, that is marking out the secondary colors, orange, green, and violet purple. So in pointing to these sections, there's going to be an orange, a violet, and a green. And then these little dots floating out to the side are going to be your tertiary or intermediate colors. That is a red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, and red, violet. They're all listed out right here. So to make my oranges, again, I am not allowed to use an orange colored pencil. We're doing color mixing, so I want you to see how you can take a red and a yellow and make out an orange. But then also we're going to make a yellower orange and a redder orange. So I'm going to start with my red pencil. And if this is a 100% red dot, you're kind of thinking of fractions or percentages. If this is 4/4 red, solid, filled up red, you're thinking 3/4, 2/4, or 1/2, and 1/4. So this is 75% red. I make it less red than this one by changing my drawing pressure. I'm not going to push as hard. I'm not going to add as much red. I'm going to let more of the white paper show through. 75%, and now I have 50%. Take a little more pressure off, and lastly 25%. Now, if you have a problem where two of your dots look similar, you have two options. You can darken one. So if these two are far enough apart, I can make this one a little bit more red, or you can erase one. I could take some of the color out of this dot with an eraser. So your goal is for a light, a medium, and a dark red, three different values of red: light, medium, and dark, with of course your darkest red here. Then I'm going to take my yellow, and it's going the opposite way. If that was fading down towards the yellow is going to fade down towards the red. So 100% red, or sorry, 100% yellow. I'm going 75% yellow. Pretty heavy yellow, and to cover up the red, even though it's in theory 75%, you're actually gonna have to push pretty hard with the yellow to cover up the red and blend these two colors together. This is 50%. Again, I'm pushing actually pretty hard. I'm pushing more like at a 90 to make it show up. and then a little bit of yellow here to make a red orange, but again, I'm pushing pretty hard. So you should have a yellow or orange, an orange, and a red orange. I can take my colors back and forth if I need to. I want a red or orange here, so this is pure red, but a red or orange here. Here's the pure yellow, but this is a yellow or orange for intermediate color. And then the middle one is my secondary color of a orange. So the oranges are done. Again, red, red, orange, orange, yellow. Now, next, we'll work with the yellow and blue. So I'll start with the yellow this time because the yellow is pretty weak. It kind of helps to put it down first so the blue doesn't kind of take over. So my yellow is going here. So 100%, I'm going 75%, 50 in the middle, 25. So again, lightening the pressure of my yellow, 100, 75, 50, 25. That's 3/4, 1/2, 1/4. My blue's gonna go on top. Here's the 100% blue. So this is gonna be pretty blue here. This is gonna be a blue-green, 75% blue, little of the yellow can show through, 50-50, and just a little bit of blue here. Mostly yellow, that is gonna make a yellow-green. I'll take my colors back and forth to kind of mix those out. So here I have a yellow, yellow-green, green, blue-green, blue. So lastly, with these 3 leftover circles, I'm making my violet purple. You'll need a red and a blue, but this is where you can also use a little bit of magenta. When you mix the red and blue together, it makes a little bit more of a brick type color. So a little bit of the magenta on top will help kind of make that more of a purple. So you can start with either color first, it does not matter, but remember as you move away from a dot, you're lessening your pressure. So 100%, I'm going 75, 50, 25. I need to make sure I see a darker, medium, and light red as I'm fading away from the red towards the blue. Now the blue will come on top and fade the opposite way. And now this is where I like to take a little bit of magenta. So again, it looks a little kind of brick color. So I'm just going to pop a little magenta in there to kind of purple it up. And I'll keep mixing until I have a blue or violet. So I see a little bit of paper showing through. I want 100% color. I want a pure kind of waxy type color. So I'll keep on mixing until I see a blue violet, violet, and red violet. Okay, so remember that there were no oranges, greens, and violets used to make this color wheel. With only red, yellow, blue, and magenta colored pencil, you're able to mix out the entire color wheel. Red, red, orange, orange, yellow, yellow, green, green, blue, blue, violet, violet, red, violet. With the primary colors marked out the triangle, the secondary colors marked out with a dotted triangle, and the intermediate colors floating out here in these littler dots. That is a color wheel. Next is value with a value scale. We're going to take a color from light to dark, from tint to shade. Now a couple things when you choose this color that you're going to make your value scale with. Do not choose anything that is too light. So all of these colors are very light in value and they will not work very well for your value scale. Plus we are not going to use any grays. So nothing too light, yellows, light pinks, light oranges, light greens, things like that. Also, do not choose a color that's too dark. There's a navy, a dark brown, a dark gray, nothing that is too dark. You want kind of a middle of the road color. So any of the rest of these types of colors are perfectly fine, just nothing that is too light. And remember that your value scale is, again, going from a tint where you add white to a shade where you add black, but we're not actually going to use a white colored pencil. It does not affect this paper at all, so you don't need it. But you will need your color that you're going to use. This is a turquoise, or you can use any color but a too light or too dark color. And then you'll also need a black colored pencil. So my turquoise, I'm going to put somewhere kind of in the middle, either the 4th or the 5th dot here. I'm going to put a turquoise 100% value dot. So cover up all the white of the paper, fill it all the way in 100% color. Now as I move towards the word tint, I'm going to make my color appear lighter by changing my pressure. So each time I move down, I'm going to get a little bit lighter, letting more of the white of the paper show through, not actually using a white colored pencil because it does not change the color. So this is 100%. I'm getting a little less pressure here. And as I move away each time, I'm going to lessen my pressure. So you should have hopefully no two dots that are exactly the same color. You want your pretty dark dot here. It's letting just a little bit of the white paper show through, and then everything else should be a little, just one step lighter until the last dot is just the like 5% color, 95% paper. Now moving towards the word shade, I'm going to have almost black, a very dark gray, so pushing like maybe 80%, just letting a little bit of the white of the paper show through, but a very dark gray in this dot, and a little less, and a little less. I will not cover up this blue dot, so I have darkest, medium, and light, but I'm not going to put any blue on top of that solid turquoise dot, or sorry, any black over that solid turquoise dot. So with the black, I'm making a dark gray, medium gray, and light gray. And now I'm going to go with the turquoise on top. Now the idea is if that was like 20% gray, you want 80% turquoise, but really you're going to have to push like almost 100% to get it to kind of cover up and blend together. So don't worry about getting any lighter. I'm just going to mix my turquoise and the black that's already down. I'm doing a pretty heavy pressure to blend those two. So this should be like 20%, but if I push 20%, you can't see it. So push hard enough that you can see that blue, or whatever color you're choosing, my turquoise in this case, and that black mixing together. And if I need to, I could take my black on top and kind of fill in, blend together a little bit more, make sure I see the turquoise is getting darker as it goes towards the shade. So value scale from light to dark with a color, from a tint, build it up towards the color, build it up towards a shade by adding some black. The last section, the third property of color, is intensity. That is how intense a color is. So colors on their own are very intense, but when you start to mix them together, you're going to begin to make browns and grays, depending on what colors you're mixing. So we are going to be mixing complementary colors, colors that are on the opposite side of the color wheel. By mixing a red and a green, colors opposite on the color wheel, you're essentially mixing a red, a yellow, and a blue, and you're going to begin to make browns. I have a yellow and a violet, and a blue and an orange. So for this one, you can actually use a red, a yellow, a blue, a green, a violet, and an orange. So you can actually use the orange, the purple, the green, all those colors. You don't have to mix out those colors too. And you know what color you're using by the little letter here. So red, yellow, blue, green, violet, and orange. Those are the most intense versions of those colors. And I have the 3 primary stacked here and the 3 secondary stacked here. So I'm going to start by by laying down red, yellow, blue, green, violet, and orange. Okay, so I have the 3 primary colors, the 3 secondary colors, complements, opposite on the color wheel, are across from each other. Now, in the middle, we're going to be mixing these 2 colors to make what are called tones, or less intense versions of these colors. They're not going to make pretty colors. They are going to make, again, browns and grays. If I had paint, and I could actually mix these, a little bit of white and black, you can make some really awesome browns and grays. So good to know for a future art project. So not nearly as pretty as what we're working on up higher. And same thing as before, where we were kind of mixing percentages, 100% red, we're going 75, 50, 25. And then with the green, that's going to go on top, here's 100%, so 75, 50, 25. So you're having eventually 4/4. You're going to mix them all up together. So next to the red, I have 75, 50, 25. Now I'm going to do my green on top here. So 100% green, 75, 50, 25, blending together to make 100% color. And I'll take my red on top. As long as I can still see the little white specks of the paper, I'm going to keep mixing till I get 100% color. So these are my tones. I have a redder, a greener, and a in the middle. Like I said, if this was paint, this would make a nice brown type color. So next I have yellow and violet purple. A more purple tone, a more yellow tone, and 50-50 kind of in the middle. Last is blue and orange. Okay, so not the most attractive of colors for these last dots here, but again, the goal of this is to know that you can make browns and grays by mixing complementary colors, colors opposite on the color wheel. So last thing to know is nothing to color in, but analogous colors are colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, so very similar colors, like 3 to 5. So if you were to pick a color, the analogous color for red would be these 3, or even up to 4 or 5. So colors next to each other on the wheel. So hue, value, and intensity, the 3 properties of color.